Hello, you're watching Entertainment Week. Coming up on the show, Bryan Adams is here to tell us about his dual careers as both rock star and photographer. British soul diva Jessie Ware will be performing here in the studio. Bloc Party frontman Kele on bridging the gap between indie and dance. And is the latest teen fiction adaptation any good? We'll review this week's big movies. First, let's catch up on the week's entertainment news. There is flash photography coming up.
Morrissey has revealed he had a series of cancer treatments, telling a Spanish newspaper, "If I die, then I die. If I don't, then I don't." J.K. Rowling left fans disappointed after revealing that a series of cryptic tweets weren't a sign of a Harry Potter comeback. Instead, she's writing a new screenplay. The homeless man Miley Cyrus took to the MTV Awards has been jailed for 6 months after violating the terms of his probation. It's been announced that Tracy Emin is designing next year's Brit Award, following in the footsteps of Sir Peter Blake and Damien Hirst. Take That announced their first album as a trio will be out in December after Jason Orange quit, and Pink Floyd have said that their first studio album for 20 years will be their last one ever.
Now, he sold millions of albums, won countless awards, and to this day holds the record for the longest run at the top of the UK singles charts. But today, Bryan Adams is becoming as renowned for his photography as for his music. His book, Wounded: The Legacy of War, is a collection of portraits that honours injured and fallen soldiers. The powerful images can be seen at an exhibition at London's Somerset House next month. And Bryan is here now. Bryan, lovely to see you.
Hi.
The photographs are absolutely beautiful, but also, I mean, they're quite disturbing in a lot of ways, aren't they?
Well,
quite uncomfortable to look at.
They're supposed to be, because it's real stuff about real people, and it's what we're facing right now with everybody coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And these guys were part of a collection of portraits I did over the course of about 4 to 5 years. It wasn't initially that easy to find people, and to find people that would allow themselves to be exposed as such and to reveal their wounds. But slowly but surely, with the help of and the inception of the idea by Carolyn Froggatt, another journalist, we managed to get a lot of people involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And I mean, we hear an awful lot about the deaths of soldiers, and we saw soldiers who'd come back from fighting at the Invictus Games. But apart from that, we don't hear much about their injuries. So it's very important to see something like this, isn't it?
It is. And so a lot of the guys in this book were actually in the Invictus Games. They were performing and competing. And for me, I'm quite proud of this work, because it's a document of a particular time in our lives that I think it's very important that we don't forget. It's very important to remember these people, and it's very important that we remember that we choose people, the right kind of politicians to lead us into these kind of engagements, because this is something I don't think a lot of people really wanted to have happen.
I mean, how did your subjects approach the project? Were they enthusiastic about it?
They were, and I think it took me some time to realize that once they were with me, that they'd committed to the idea of showing exactly what had happened to them. And it got down to, after about 2 or 3 pictures we'd done, I started doing interviews with them. And so that's part of what this book is all about. The Wounded Legacy of War is a culmination of 5 years of work and 30 different people, and all of them tell their story. So it's really their story in this book.
I suppose you can't really pick out one person, but what touched you most about the whole project? It must have been very humbling in a lot of ways.
Extremely humbling, and it was hard. It'd be really hard to choose one particular person over another. All of them were, you know, very, very, very good to work with. There's a great camaraderie with soldiers, and how they work with themselves and how they work with other people. They're very down to earth, and I think, yeah, I mean, looking back on the project, I think one thing that does strike me the most is that there was a great sense of camaraderie.
And how did you approach their injuries? Did you at any time find it awkward or uncomfortable?
Well, not really. I just decided it was really a matter of how much they wanted to reveal and how much they wanted to talk about it. And I was never pushy. and I would ask if they'd be willing to show this or that, and if they said no, then that was fine. You know, there were certain cases where there were some people that were so badly burnt that they just didn't want to take the shirt off.
You've got this book out, you've also got an album out at the moment. And what's the balance for you at the moment? Is it more photography, is it more music?
No, it's definitely more music. I mean, this kind of project, like this book project, comes out very seldom, and I guess the albums come out quite seldom too. But no, I'm very proud that this has just come out as well. So it's kind of hard to talk about both things at the same time, because talking about Wounded is such a very, very serious subject, whereas music is quite lighthearted. But I do have an album out called Tracks of My Years. It's just come on the British charts at number 11. And yeah, it's great to be back here.
Touring anytime soon?
Yes, I've got a tour in November for another album which is coming out, which is a 30th anniversary album for Reckless, an album I released in 1984. So that's the Reckless tour, and that's going to carry on until Christmas.
Amazing, and you've got your hands full. You've got 2 daughters as well.
I do, yeah.
Not much time for anything else by the sounds of it.
I'm kind of busy, but thank you very much for having me today.
Bryan, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. Jessie Ware's debut album was a top 5 hit and not only won her a Mercury Prize nomination, but also an army of devoted fans. Her second collection, Tough Love, has been touted as one of the year's most anticipated albums, and it's finally out next week. When your heart becomes a million different pieces, that's when you won't be able to recognize this feeling. That's gonna And Jessie is here now. Jessie, lovely to see you. It sounds absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Was it tricky writing the second album? Because a lot of people say that when you've had such success with the first, you can kind of get writer's block.
I found this easier. I think I put myself under such pressure on the first record because I didn't really feel ready. And then they go, oh, here's a record deal and go and make an album. And I was like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I? So I really enjoyed this one, and I was ready to write. I'd been on tour for about 2 years, and I felt like, you know, I loved touring so much, but I felt like I couldn't do much more than the record, and I wanted to have more songs to play with, and so I was in desperate need to write this new album.
It sounds like the music career wasn't exactly planned in some ways. I mean, you started off as a journalist, and you sensibly got out of that. How did this all come about?
I got lucky. My mate, who I went to school with, Jack Pignate, I was a backing singer for him. So I'd take
Good
days
mate
off.
to have.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so I'd take days off work to go and do like Radio 1 sessions with him and to be a backing singer. And then he was like, oh, would you want to come on tour with me? And I had taken up all my holiday with work. So I was like, okay, well, what am I doing? So I decided to try it for a year. I had a place at a law school to do, what's it called?
A law conversion course,
yeah, that's how, God. Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Jeez. Yeah, I had a place for a law conversion and kept on deferring it because it kept on going okay. So, and then here we are.
Doesn't sound like you'll be going down to the law anytime soon.
Well, considering I couldn't remember law conversion, I don't think I'm there soon. Yeah, no.
The latest track you wrote with Ed Sheeran. How did that come about?
I was wrapping up the record in New York. I made the record in LA, New York and London. And we were finishing the record and Ed was in town, and I have mutual friends with him, and also my producer, one of my producers for this record, had worked with him on his new album. So he said, look, Ed's in town, do you want to work with him? And I just felt like, why not?
Yeah.
Definitely would never have thought me and Ed would work together. We're kind of from different worlds. And it was the best thing ever. And it was the shortest session ever.
Because it worked so well.
Yeah, because it worked so well, because he's amazing, because, yeah, there was a real chemistry, and it was an easy song to write, but much credit to Ed for that.
Your videos are incredibly beautiful, and your style is very sophisticated and sexy and understated. Lots of pop stars aren't. There have been a lot of them in the news about, including about videos. I mean, do you think that it's in any way a problem, some of these more risque videos? I mean, you think of Miley Cyrus as one of them, and maybe Rihanna.
Each to their own, I think. I like wearing suits, and I like I'm blatant. There's going to be a picture of me. I like covering up. Oh no, there's my midriff. But each their own. Everyone's different. If it was all the same, it would be very, very boring, and people wouldn't have anything to talk about. So I think crack on with the Rihannas and Mileys of this world. Look, don't get me wrong, if I could get in hot pants, I would be in them. So
I'd definitely be them all the time if I could. Jessie, thank you so much.
Thank
and we're going to hear your latest single at the end of the show.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Coming up, Kele talks being both Bloc Party frontman and solo artist. And can the Maze Runner outrun Hugh Grant's latest rom-com? We'll review them both. Kele made his name fronting the British band Bloc Party, earning plaudits for their fresh take on the traditional indie rock formula. But after a foray into electronica on his first solo album, the singer is stepping further into the club scene for his new album, Trick. And Kele joins me now. Kele, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Now, you wrote this album, didn't you, when you were on tour with Bloc Party?
Yeah, I started it when I was on tour with Bloc Party. Yeah.
It must be amazing to have the variety of doing both sort of at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, it was definitely an outlet. I feel in touring the last Bloc Party record to work on something that was completely different, completely separate to it.
It must be incredibly refreshing. Not many artists get to do such different things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think that, you know, it's nice that there's a duality to be able to experience two different worlds at the same time. It kind of makes me feel a lot more satisfied.
I read a review which said it's a collection of club anthems, the confident carnal yin to his indie group's anxious, angst-riddled yang. Do you think that's fair? Is that a good review? I liked it.
Yeah, I like the I like those references. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think about it too much. In those sorts of terms, you know, for me it was just about expressing myself at the time, but yeah, I feel it is a more of a sensual maybe experience than the music I've made with Bloc Party.
Do you think finally it's made you a better musician working in two such different fields, and do you think that your music sort of feeds one into the other?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely given me a different sense of perspective. You know, working in two different areas. It forces you to not be so precious about the idea of boundary or genre, and I think that's a good thing as a creative person, as a songwriter. It's good to be able to find inspiration in places where you wouldn't ordinarily expect it.
Kele, thank you so much. Lovely to see you. Thank you. Okay, time to see what's on at the cinema this weekend, and this week's biggest release is yet another adaptation of a teen fiction series, The Maze Runner. Our film critic Joe Michalczuk joins me now. Joe, great to see you. First of all, so another teen adaptation. Do we really need any more?
Another one. Well, let's be kind first, The Maze Runner, because it's a little bit different. It's a sort of Lord of the Rings meets Lost. A group of young boys are sort of thrown into a maze. We don't know why they're there. We don't know how they're going to escape. It's got that sort of Lost-esque sci-fi sort of intrigue thrown into it.
So it sounds okay.
So it is a little bit different, but then it suffers because you know it's another adaptation, so you know it's at least a trilogy or maybe even 4 movies if they split the last one like The Hunger Games.
But that's not a problem if you like the franchise.
No,
because The Hunger Games I thought was brilliant, and I'm desperate to see more.
Yeah,
it's only if they're bad.
And I think fans of this will love it, but I think for the casual viewer, I don't know if you've read these books, I haven't. No. I'm not a 16-year-old girl or boy, so they've passed me by. So for us, there's got to be a cliffhanger, there's got to be an intrigue for us to think, do you know, I really want to see that second movie. But here it's it's just a bit of a damp squib. It's sort of, it's more very Lost-esque again. It's very more more questions rather than answers. And you think, have I just wasted 2.5 hours of my life watching this? I want some sort of resolution. And, you know, as well as that, it's quite bleak. You know, teen movies sort of 10 years ago were sort of nerdy teenagers trying to lose their virginity with sort of high school cheerleaders. And now here we don't...
I like this grittiness.
Well, see,
I like the fact
I...
that the Hunger Games has got a message and it's, you know, you come away thinking.
Oh my God, can't we send someone after them?
That's against the rules. Either they make it back or they don't.
Can't risk losing anyone else.
Comparisons with things like Divergent and the Hunger Games are completely inevitable.
I think it is different. I think it does set itself apart in that we are... The way that we survive this situation that we're thrown into is by coming together and working together to fight a common enemy. And it's about a camaraderie and a friendship between only males.
And a shameless link, he was in a film with Hugh Grant, and we're now going to talk about...
Banging the Drums in Love
another
Actually.
film with Hugh Grant, exactly, The Rewrites.
Love Actually, Hugh Grant's peak, by the way, Lucy. Rewrite's probably a bit down here.
Because we haven't seen him lately very much on the screen. He's been banging his political drum, hasn't he?
He has, and now he's back in a... Well, the best way to describe it is a Hugh Grant romantic comedy, which
I love.
In 1997, you'd be banging the door down to your local cinema, but unfortunately, rom-coms have moved on now, haven't they? Sort of, if it started with 4 Weddings and a Funeral, it ended, I think, with 500 Days of Summer, and I think now that they have to be a bit more quirky and have an edge to them. The problem with this as well, you mentioned the Leveson inquiry, it has a whiff of Operation Yewtree about it as well, because Hugh Grant's character is whipping through Facebook and trying to pick good-looking girls to go into his class, and you kind of think this might have been funny 10 years ago, it's not that funny now, and it just feels a little bit dated, is probably the best way to describe it. And I think Hugh Grant loses interest halfway through, a bit like the audience do, because he kind of, I think he realises that kind of like, oh, golly, 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 kind of shtick doesn't really work anymore.
Well, and he's also admitted to us, hasn't he,
exactly.
that he doesn't want to be making films anymore.
At least he's honest about it.
I was not desperate to make movies particularly. I've always, you know, over the last 10 years I've been sort of stepping back anyway. And it's been interesting. I mean, it's quite scary and challenging, the whole political thing, but really refreshing to do something completely different.
He's got the best job in the world, hasn't he? He gets paid millions of pounds and doesn't actually want to be doing it. Anyway,
just had 3 kids, college fund, done.
We'll talk about people who do want to make films. The London Film Festival has kicked off this week. It's been incredibly busy. We've seen Mr. Turner and The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, which everyone's talking about.
Haven't seen it yet. I've been on my holes. You've seen it.
Absolutely
really, really looking forward to seeing it.
Really powerful film about Alan Turing. And I spoke to Benedict Cumberbatch this week, and he told me about what a fantastic and very important character this man was.
He's incredibly important to our culture. Everything we have in our hands, from mobile phones to the idea of what an algorithm is, every time we use a search engine on Google or any other format, that's using algorithms that he put in place. I couldn't quite believe the full extent of his life and achievements, and I think most people seeing the film for the first time are also shocked.
And it's only October. February is when the Oscars are coming out. We're already talking about him as a contender, aren't we?
We were talking about this at Toronto when it was making waves. He's going to be a contender. I think Eddie Redmayne, he's playing a young Stephen Hawking in The Theory of Everything, could be up there against Benedict Cumberbatch. And of course, Timothy Spall, they're calling Mr. Turner the role of a lifetime and the performance of a lifetime. That premiered in London on Friday night. So it could be 3 Brits in the Oscars Best Acting nomination category, which has been a bit short, hasn't it, recently, in sort of acting categories in the Oscars.
I can't
so
imagine
could be
that
exciting.
there'll be 3 Brits. And the interesting thing about The Imitation Game as well is that they've got the Harvey Weinstein machine behind them, which is pretty important at Oscar times. I mean, he's got a pretty good Oscar pedigree, hasn't
it's
he?
hundreds and hundreds of nominations, and it also won the prize at the Toronto Film Festival as well, and that's usually a really good indicator of where the Academy will go. They love historical biopics, don't they? I mean, this has got everything. It's got history, it's got embarrassment for the British government, it's got Benedict Cumberbatch, who everyone loves at the moment, so it's going to be a winner, surely.
What's not to like, Joe?
Exactly.
Thank you so much. And that is almost all for now. Coming up next week, American teen idol Nick Jonas is here to talk about his album and his sexy new image. And best-selling author Anthony Horowitz will reveal how he's bringing Bond back to life on the page. But now, to play us out, it's Jessie Ware with her latest single, Say You Love Me.
Say you love me to my face. I'm needing more than your embrace. Just say you want me, that's all it takes. Hearts getting torn from your mistakes. 'Cause I don't wanna fall in love if you don't wanna try. But all that I've been thinking of is maybe that you're mine. And baby, it looks as though we're running out of words to say, and love's floating away. Just say you love me, just for today, and don't give me time, 'cause that's not the same. I want to feel burning flames when you say my name. I want to feel passion flow into my bones like blood through my veins. 'Cause I don't wanna fall in love if you don't wanna try. But all that I've been thinking of is maybe that you're mine. And baby, it looks as though we're running out of words to say, and love's